This is episode 18, and this is the first part of our episode recorded on October 18th, 2014. Mike, Rene, Destin, Dave, and I actually get to take on the role of skeptics on things like life after death, invisibility cloaks, and polygraph tests, while also discussing some social issues surrounding racism and AA.
We can say definitively that religions are all bullshit.
Amen, brother.
Well, you know me, I don't buy it to BS.
I get paid to sign.
I don't fit into human nature.
Do not marry here.
What the hell was my point?
Brainstorm.
All right. There was a study that supposedly showed evidence of life after death.
Nope, done.
Nope, done. Next.
Yeah, because I'm still alive after you die.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Other people are alive after we die.
Yeah.
Didn't that study actually show that most people don't experience anything?
Yes.
So It doesn't show that there's anything after
according
death.
to this.
By most people, you mean the people that get resuscitated, not the people that remain dead.
I mean most of the people in the study.
Yeah. See, the first round of interviews had 140 people, and 55 of them reported some sort of what they considered awareness after they had cardiac arrest. And then there was a second round with 101, and 55 people also did the same thing, basically. But what I thought was really interesting is that they had shelves with pictures on them that one would be able to see only after you'd exited your body, supposedly. Mm-hmm. And not one person reported seeing them. So 0 people had objective information.
The only thing I thought of when I read that article was because it was done in what? The UK and Australia? Wasn't that where the study was?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if they did a similar study in a culture that wasn't, say, Judeo-Christian based and see what we'd have.
I was just going to say, couldn't you make that study relevant by actually having a control group and a study group? Like you could have people who are religious and people who weren't.
Right.
And then compare the results and see to what extent a person's experiences were actually driven by their preconceived notions of what would happen.
Well, that's because that's one idea I got from a book I read a while ago. It was you culturally construct your reality. And so their experiences in this near-death state would construct it because, well, if they're raised, Judeo-Christian, you're going to think of this idea of when you die, your spirit rises, and then that's your experience. But what happens if in that near-death state you're, say, Hindu? Are you seeing your next life in your reincarnation?
So you guys raise interesting questions. My question is, how do you get people to sign up for this shit?
You don't. What
you give them a candy bar.
What you do is you have ERs set up with a certain setup, and you monitor an interview afterwards.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people who are entering into the study actually died.
Yeah. That's right.
But you know what though? Like, they died? Okay, so their heart stopped. Yada yada yada. They didn't actually die. Like it's not evidence for anything. Like all it's literally saying is the mind maybe has some amount of consciousness left for a period of time.
I mean, some of them couldn't be resuscitated. They entered into the study because they were in the kind of state that they were going to die anyway.
Right.
They don't actually use people who are healthy. That's all I meant.
It's like none of the evidence to me means anything.
Well, there wasn't a mad scientist somewhere going, "Oh, we're going to kill them. Let's see if they resuscitate."
I think it's a poor report.
Well, it is a very poor study, and at the very least, I consider it to be actually evidence against life after death, because nobody who reported awareness after supposedly dying, not a single person could talk about these pictures that were the objective degree of measurement.
So if they were to actually rise above their bodies and look down,
they
should have seen them.
That's right. They should have seen these pictures, and nobody reported that. One person out of the entire study reported seeing the scenario around them, and they told it in what was considered an accurate way. So one person out of, according to this, 140 for sure, right? One person could tell that stuff was going on around them, like nurses were doing work and doctors were doing work in an accurate way. But that could have been constructed before or after, and then
That sounds like cold reading to me, though.
Yeah.
Of course all of that was going on. What would you expect was going on?
Right.
Did you see somebody with a Peter? Yeah, Peter. Yeah,
that's right.
I don't know anything about medicine, but there is an element where they don't really know where that point of death actually happens, right? Like, I mean, unless they have an EKG like strapped to your brain.
Well, that was actually listening to
EKGs for your heart, I think.
Okay, what's the one they strap to your?
You're probably thinking of an fMRI or something.
Yeah. Something like that.
To monitor your brain in real time.
Yeah, the brainwave one is what I was thinking. But yeah,
fMRI. That's brain death is what you're looking for.
In Saskatchewan, it's more often AM.
Actual heart stopping. Heart stopping is what this study is about.
Yeah, that's what this study used. That was something that Ross Balch brought up when he was discussing it on Imaginary Friends show. When do you decide when death is? Like, because the heart stopping doesn't mean that all oxygenation has stopped in the brain. And, there's a lot of factors at play there. And when somebody's dead, well, then they're dead and you didn't bring them back. These are near death. So
that's what I'm saying too. Yeah. This doesn't say anything about after death. It doesn't really tell us anything.
Because all I could think of is that Serpent in the Rainbow book I read a while ago. Loved it. They discussed like the whole. Won't get into it because it's a goofy thing, but zombification, where they use a neurotoxin which brings a person so close to death that unless they're hooked up to an actual meter, as far as they can tell, they're dead. But yet they're not dead. They're just in such a state, they're aware of what's going on around them, but their breathing is so shallow, their pulse rate is so shallow, and like just so close to death that you can't really tell under, say if you read their pulse by hand, you have no idea. But that's just it. It's like, I mean, you're so close to death, you can be quite aware of what's going around, but you're not dead. Right. And that's just what I mean.
But you would be fairly soon.
Well, you're very close. You're like that close. The whole heart rate monitor. Beep.
Yeah. But that
one little blip.
Except that's a myth, right?
Yeah, and that state would only be able to last. You'd only be able to last for a few minutes before you actually did die.
Wow. In this book and Wade Davis went and studied this, it actually lasts a lot longer. They actually have people buried for 3 days. They're just in such a state that they can survive on the limited amount of oxygen inside their coffin. Like it's just they're in such a almost suspended animation that they survive. But that's a totally off-topic thing. That's a totally off-topic thing.
I want to take us just a touch further off topic. When you went beep, that's what I meant when I said that's a myth. That doesn't actually happen. That's movies and TV. There's no beep.
I watched too much ER. I'm sorry.
None of that.
And then the only way they come back to life is live, damn it, live.
Yes, and then someone pounds on their chest.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything's good.
Yeah, everything's good.
I'd come back to life if those.
And then they go home a couple hours later.
If it's George Clooney, everyone comes back to life after that.
And then they get released from the hospital a few hours later.
Well, I just learned something about Dave.
Should we talk about the Blackeyed kids, which is clearly just ridiculous nonsense?
I have no idea.
We never talk about ridiculous nonsense.
Yeah.
Explain.
Oh, geez. Explain.
It's like everything else that pops up around Halloween.
Yeah. This story is actually from 2013, which is weird because it's been popping up more recently.
So the Slender Man that caused people to freak out and kill people. But anyway.
Yeah, that was a whole other thing. What do we got? The Birmingham Mail, UK, posted a story related to a local paranormal investigator, Lee Brickley from Staffordshire, back in 2013. He reported received an email report of a light sighting of the Cannock Chase black-eyed child. Yeah.
Sure he did.
That was actually 2002, and then she later went on to form a band.
And she looked exactly like a demon from Supernatural, the TV show.
Right.
Or Paranormal Activity.
Or
Sure.
yeah.
Or paranormal, or the crossover.
Let's just keep it to Supernatural because that's just better.
Hey, man. Paranormal Activity is the best comedy I've ever seen.
Yeah. The picture looks creepy. Sort of.
I looked at that picture and all I could think of is, if we bring the picture out further, you'd have Dean and Sam right beside her.
Right. Yeah. My first instinct was that it was something for the ring.
Oh, yeah, maybe that.
But I don't remember if that girl actually if you ever saw her eyes in the ring.
Well, she didn't have straight hair. She had really messed up because she was stuck in the bottom of a well hair.
Yeah, something. Yeah. That was a pretty good show, actually.
Ringu's better.
Yeah.
Like the Japanese original.
Right, yeah. It's
Much
supposed to
better.
be much better.
Much better.
I wonder what kind of medical condition would be required to actually have eyes that look like that.
Contacts.
Demon possession.
They would have to be kind of all-inclusive, big-ass contacts.
Yeah, I think you can get them, actually.
Yeah, you can.
I'm sure you can.
Yeah, I had a friend who had some.
Is that right?
Yeah, I used to wear them. He was a goth kid.
Oh, yes.
He looked so evil.
I would assume goth. I'm guessing he wouldn't be like, urban cowboy type.
I never know.
That might be entertaining, actually.
Dude's a brony.
He's a brony.
Black-eyed bronies.
Black-eyed bronies.
Jeez.
Photography like this, though, is the age we live in is so different. You think about how easy it is to make anything look realistic now. Like, I remember back in the day, that was like all reserved for those awesome tabloids where like, woman gives birth to 4 puppies and shit
World
like that.
Weekly News and
Yeah. Like now everybody can make that stuff. Like,
fact is, it used to be someone that had to know what he was doing in an editing.
Exactly.
Whereas you can do that on Photoshop.
Yeah, it's like, here, let me just download the app that shows creepy eyes. Like,
Where's the creepy eye filter on Instagram?
Well, I did this with paint.
That's a good idea. We should promote that to Instagram. We need a Halloween filter.
It was like the Walking Dead filter. That was a really good one.
Right.
You could make yourself look zombie.
Yeah, you could be
zombified.
zombify yourself.
Yeah, with a click of a button.
But that doesn't become a news story.
No, not anymore.
That's the difference. Yeah, not anymore. So, did they cite anything that they considered to be evidence?
No, there was 0 police reports.
Yeah.
And 0 other documentation. It was just internet stories, eh?
Oh, yes.
Floating around.
There was really nothing for you to pick for topics, was there?
Slow news day. Slow news.
This is actually kind of old. I thought it was funny, this black-eyed
It is
kid
kinda
stuff.
funny.
This other article I shared was fluoride still not poisoning your precious bodily fluids.
I didn't bother reading that one.
What do you mean?
Because the title says everything I need to know.
Yeah, it really does. In fact, there's nothing new in this.
You know what the funny thing was I was actually talking to dental hygienist about fluoride. And she says how in Regina, they actually have voted down 2 or 3 times to add fluoride to the water in Regina. And she says it's utterly stupid. And I agreed with her.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's
Places where they add fluoride to the water or do water fluoridation programs, the cases of cavities has gone down a lot.
I mean, the evidence is right there, but you know, how can you argue against Alex Jones?
oh jeez.
Fluoride is poisoning you.
And any site that references Infowars.com is itself garbage.
Really?
Yes. No joke.
Yeah, that's right.
To be clear, Infowars.com references itself.
Sure it does.
And Natural News.
Natural
references
News.
it.
I'm looking at you, Natural News.
Yeah.
You are garbage.
You are, in fact, garbage.
I think they also talk about...
Actually, maybe they do have a legit article or two. I just haven't seen one yet.
And I never will.
You can't get past the black helicopters.
I never will. If somebody references Natural News, then I do not read the article.
They've also referenced...
There's no point.
Is that a confirmation bias?
I read
read a few. I read a few, and
Sure it
it's literally not worth the time because they are all full of shit.
I'll still read them because I'll still read The Onion. And that sort of thing amuses me. And reading Natural News and reading The Onion are exactly the same for me.
That's a good way to look at it.
Other than the Onion knows it's a joke.
Yeah.
Sure. But that makes Natural News funnier.
Yeah.
But then the uninformed don't know the difference between satire and stupid.
Yeah.
You know what, though? The media screws up there, though, because there's a lot of sites that don't play off as satire, even though they are. Like, they don't sound like satire.
Well,
you should be able to read it and know it's satire.
But some people don't think that far ahead, you know?
But then again...
but sometimes it's convincing, too.
It is, exactly.
The shit, we all got fooled last week.
Well, sure we did.
Yeah, see.
But we've also admitted we got fooled. And we've gone past it.
Print, and it's just like texting. You can't really sarcastically text unless you put the...
Would you ever be fooled by an Onion article, ever?
No, because I know what the Onion is.
Well, no, because the tone of it is completely different.
That's true.
It's like, it's obviously...
The thing that fooled us last week, the reason it fooled us is because people are stupid enough to actually sue the government for fucking child support or whatever.
Is it people, or are we just that fucking cynical?
Yeah.
No.
I'd say a little bit from A, a little bit from B.
A little bit from A, a little bit from B.
In the era of people deserving everything that they could possibly get their hands on, it could definitely happen.
In Canada, not so much, but definitely down in the States. There's people that make a living off of frivolous lawsuits. Absolutely.
I thought it was funny because when I talked in our podcast group about the mistake we made, you were right away like, well, it's obviously how fucked up society is that we believe that. And I was like, but
we can take some responsibility, I think.
Maybe
Obviously,
we're just that jaded.
Obviously, we got fooled. But at the same time, the fact that all of us believed it,
I didn't have a mic. I don't count. I wasn't talking about that.
Yeah, Dave didn't.
I'm not sure I was either.
Yeah.
I think I just sat here staring and
In
dumbfounded.
shock.
Yeah.
No, you got right into the conversation once I said dogs are food. Remember?
Oh, well, but that was obviously both true and funny.
Yeah.
Dogs are food elsewhere. Thank goodness we don't eat dogs.
They might be tasty. Who knows?
Hey, you know what? If you're hungry.
Mm-hmm. If I'm hungry, insects. Insects.
Yeah.
That's where it's at.
If you got to eat, you got to
Don't
eat.
question what's in that hot dog.
I would rather be eating insects.
Okay, Gumby, did you actually read that article on Gardasil?
Yeah, I did.
Because I didn't get all the way through it.
Oh, well, yeah, good thing you pick topics so you don't bother reading. Gardasil is an HPV vaccine.
Yep.
And it's actually proven to work in reducing cancer because HPV causes a lot of like cervical cancers, penile cancer, anal cancer, all sorts of things. So it is the only known vaccine for a certain cancer. But that's not a proper way of saying it because it doesn't stop you from getting those cancers. It stops you from getting cancer from that single cause. Mm-hmm. So calling it a vaccine against cancer is erroneous. But if you could take a vaccine against First, if you're young and you can get a vaccine against HPV, you're stupid if you don't get it.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
I thought it was interesting that it talked about both boys and girls around the age 11 getting it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because there's
when it first
penile
came out,
cancers.
because when it first came out, the focus was
on girls.
Pretty much all just girls getting it.
Yeah, except now they know that HPV spreads orally, anally, vaginally.
Right.
So anybody can get it.
But of course, the argument against it is,
but vaccines.
Well, more along the lines of, but if you vaccinate against that, then it might promote them to have sex.
Right.
Oh no.
Right.
That's the last Pope's argument against condoms.
Yeah.
We know exactly how ridiculous that is.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
My whole theory on
Pope,
that,
as in the one wearing the fancy red shoes.
Yeah, the Pope Benedict, whatever his name is. The eggs
Benedict. The eggs Benedict.
Yeah, the eggs Benedict Pope.
The one that was in charge of hiding all the sex scandals with all
Yes.
the... Oh,
yeah.
okay, yeah. Condoms are bad. Touching the altar boys,
Yeah, you're forgiven.
he was a misogynist one, right?
Misogynist.
I can never say that word, ever.
Every time.
He was a misogynist.
I swear you do this just to make me just to piss me off.
Yeah.
I do many things just to piss you off. That's not one of them.
this is just a bonus.
Pissing me off is just the bonus. That makes sense.
Yeah, so I that Skeptical Raptor article is really in-depth, I thought. Like, it was pretty well written.
Very well written, actually.
But, yeah. Basically, I think it boils down to everybody who should get the HPV vaccine.
Awesome.
Anybody that wants to read it, it's...
in the notes after the podcast.
In the show notes.
Listed right, yeah, it's in the show notes.
Brainstormblog.net.
Skepticalraptor.com.
The link will be in the show notes.
Yeah. Gumby is being useless.
Okay.
And now a minute to tell you about our sponsors. Audible.com is offering listeners of Brainstorm a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial membership. Membership gives you reduced prices on over 150,000 titles for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player and costs $14.95 per month after the first free month. And having just hit my first paid month, I was happy to see that I got a free book as well as the lower prices. I just signed up. It's got to be 5 weeks now. And now I'm listening to Goodness Without God, A Defense of Metaphysical Naturalism by Dr. Richard Carrier. For your 30-day free membership and free audiobook download, go to audibletrial.com/brainstorm. That's audibletrial.com/brainstorm.
We are given one life, full of billions of small and large decisions. To be somebody, to change, to be kind, to give hope, to become a better person, and to leave a lasting impact on this planet. It is a decision to be made every single day while your heart is still beating. We've made our decision. Absence of clothing. Atheist and science-based apparel and merchandise, donating 50% of our profits to charity. Look good and feel good, without God. Check us out at absenceofclothing.com and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest for discount codes and other sweet swag.
If you use the offer code BRAINSTORM, you get 10% off.
Do you want to help make the Brainstorm podcast self-sustaining? For just $1 an episode, you can. Go to patreon.com/brainstormpodcast and become a patron, or go to gumroad.com/brainstorm and pay whatever you want for individual episodes. Different support levels can get you either a shirt or hand-embroidered hat with the Brainstorm logo on it. If you can't give any money, then that's fine. Give us a rating and write a review on iTunes or Stitcher. For a limited time, we're offering a Brainstorm t-shirt. First person to review us on either podcatcher. If you just like listening and want to keep up with the show, then like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and check out our website, brainstormblog.net.
Now I have a couple that I grabbed after. Well, I guess these ones are like the Bill Walcott lost his venue for his hate speech.
Bill Walcott was the. Is he the American guy or the?
He's the Canadian.
The guy from Weyburn.
He's from Yellowgrass.
He's the Saskatchewan dude.
He was from Weyburn.
He lives in Yellowgrass now.
Lives in Weyburn or Yellowgrass. Okay.
He's Canada's version of
Peter LaBarbera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Porno Pete.
Yeah. The really funny thing about the venue he lost, it was in a
funeral home.
Funeral home.
Well, the problem was if you read the article, basically, I think he kind of misrepresented himself, and that's
the church.
Yeah. And once they found out, they went, no.
Yeah, they thought he was just going to do a service of some kind, right? And they.
Not even dead people can put up with his shit.
Yeah.
Nor should they.
Oh, he says he's going to have it on the sidewalk.
That's right. Yeah, we're in their parking lot so they can arrest him.
Yeah, so they can arrest him again.
Dumb motherfucker.
Just don't let him out this time.
I hope.
I have a really bad joke that I just can't stop saying. For a guy that's so against homosexuality, he sure seems to like to go to jail.
That's
Jeez.
Yes, that's going to get edited out.
Okay.
If we're telling bad jokes, I mean, I have some of those. Everybody's
just like, okay.
Staring at me.
Did you hear that? There's another story about him not too long ago about him at the Pride Parade in Vancouver or some crap, and he was.
I heard something about that.
When he's handing out those, they look like condoms, but they were.
Yeah, it was some
like
conversion nonsense.
Conversion books, yeah.
What?
I think they talked about that on the Legion of Reason.
Yeah. Yeah, because he registered for as one of the people in the parade or something, and somehow snuck through. And he went in disguise.
Right.
Yeah.
I know he's super Christian too, isn't he?
What's that?
In disguise, in clothes.
He's like super Christian, right? As well.
Sure.
Isn't there something against falsely representing yourself in the name of God?
Bearing false witness, yes.
Yeah, stuff like that.
But the thing is, isn't he just his whole crusade wasn't he and I might be wrong, let's put the asterisk there. Wasn't he a former male prostitute and that's where all this comes from?
I'm not sure.
Those asterisks are always on this show. You don't have to add them.
Okay, well, I just thought I'd just point them in there. But, and that's just it. That's where all this...
Sorry, continue.
I'm getting roasted by the grammar Nazi. But at any rate, that's where I think a lot of this comes from is that he lived that lifestyle and now it's, I don't know, severe guilt or I don't know what.
I just saw a Jacqueline Glenn video this morning where there was a Christian guy he performed homosexual acts according to his video.
Yeah.
And then decided that they were sinful and put out this long ass video proclaiming how terrible he was and how terrible these acts that he performed were, and she was kind of making fun of him for being an asshat. But
it's I think it was Joe Rogan that said it. It's like for the people that are really against same-sex marriage are probably the same ones that secretly think dick is delicious.
Yeah,
I think this is what the problem is.
Isn't that the greatest tragedy of religion, though? The notion that having pleasure in something, that being happy, is actually evil.
Yeah, for sure.
That
bizarre
has to be one of the
thinking,
greatest tragedies.
The only one I can think of that kind of questions that would be maybe Hinduism because the whole Karma Sutra thing. But
yeah,
I think that's Kama Sutra.
Commas.
I'm going to
my role is to be a dick today.
We're all unhappy. That's the thing about life, Millie. That's the horrible thing about life.
I'm not unhappy.
Yes, you are. We all are.
Well, not like you guys.
Why not?
Because I know God's taking care of me.
I don't believe in God.
I know. That's why you're unhappy. That's why you're stoned.
God doesn't make sense. It's not logical.
How a California man was forced to spend 100 days in prison for being an atheist. Dude's name is Barry Hazel. He was incarcerated for a year because of drug charges. And as a condition of his parole, he was required to attend a 90-day residential drug treatment program. He didn't object to attending the program, but he found that he was assigned to a 12-step program with explicitly religious content that he disagreed with. And because he basically ended up refusing, well, he participated, but his forced participation, I guess, didn't go over well. And then he ended up getting incarcerated for 100 days for it.
And then more recently, he won a lawsuit against the state.
And good for him. Seriously.
And what was it, $2 million?
Yeah, $2 million.
You know, there's shit like that goes on here in this city, in this province. Like, not quite exactly the same, but for instance, like the drug court program they have here.
It happens all the time.
Like people in drug court are made to attend treatment centers, and of course, there's that element of you have to have a god or a
isn't there
higher
always?
Power. Yeah, no, it's very entrenched in the addictions field. So, if you're an atheist and you come through and say, "Well, I'm not going to do this step because this means nothing to me."
Okay, I've never taken
back to jail with you.
But it's something I always find funny is like, yeah, you must succumb to a higher power. Why don't you just take responsibility?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they kind of, some wish-washy language in there because there is like the whole making amends and blah, 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 like doing the action part, like that exists. But it's the whole getting to that point you have to turn your life over to a power higher than yourself. You know?
It was interesting. My brother went through court-mandated rehab, and he told me that you could have anything as your higher power,
sure.
like even a rock.
This mic stand.
Yeah, which to me makes absolutely no sense. Yeah. Like, how is a rock a higher power?
Stupid.
Like, it's
the only logical aspect of it that makes sense from the quotes unquote higher power. If you take the group as your higher power, the idea that you have a group of people is more powerful than yourself. I get that philosophy because obviously you can accomplish more with a group of people, but in actual, like in the mystical term, it's stupid.
Right.
It's not you. It's like a lot of people don't benefit from that.
Yeah.
Why would you have to be spiritual in order to succeed in rehabilitation?
That's just
I quit smoking without anything spiritual.
Yeah. There's like this small percentage of people who go to AA and have success, and because of that, they say, "Look, this is the evidence that suggests that you need this to succeed."
Well, it's the same people that I'm a born again Christian. That Jesus saved my life, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Whatever the problem is.
It's a bad study. I mean, that's interesting, but how many people, is there a control group and a test group? People who believe in God and people who don't? And how many of each get through rehab? But there's nothing like that. It's all a one-sided diet of examples.
Well, yeah.
And
so
actually,
when people say it works, but it works compared to what?
The AA group. Oh, go ahead.
Another really interesting part about that whole thing was not all of the settlement was because of the atheist thing. The money is. This is a quote from another article. The money is meant to compensate for the violation of Hazel's First Amendment rights. Or religious rights, as well as to pay for the legal costs of the lengthy court battle. Heller noted that the prison where Hazel was sent was also overcrowded and dangerous for both inmates and guards. According to a statement from former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, the suit included compensation for physical and emotional symptoms and injuries. So that's for being in an overcrowded prison.
Yeah, so possibly
that's another
suffered
completely
an injury?
systemic. Well, just the fact that he's in an overcrowded prison is another completely systemic.
Basically, the whole prison system
issue.
is shit.
Yeah, that's right.
In the States, that's jurisprudence, isn't it? The fact that one former inmate managed to sue and get compensated for being in a overcrowded prison.
Oh,
that's not
sets precedence.
Precedence,
right?
Sets precedence.
Yeah, sets precedence. That's interesting.
So now everybody that gets out of jail ever.
Everybody in that jail for sure.
On which
in any overcrowded jail, right?
Yeah.
Although I don't know if it go over in Arizona.
Probably not.
Where they have they have all those. They have Tent City and shit like that.
Yeah. I was gonna say, AA and NA, they don't report recidivism or recidivism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew what I was saying.
I'm glad I'm not the only one stumbling over his words.
Yeah, they don't report recidivism. They only report the people who are actively in the program.
Sure.
And when you fail, then they take you out of as though you're out of the program. So you're not considered a failure. You're just not a person in the program.
And they don't really track statistics, I don't think.
Not well.
No. At least in the experience I've had, they don't. So, I mean, like, really, they have no – they can't provide any quality data on that stuff. And I guess it is kind of hard to track people when it's supposed to be anonymity and they're coming in and out. That's true. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. The reality is that if you actually have attended any of these groups and kind of seen people come in and out of them, people will constantly be like, coming in for a week and then gone for a long time and then back in for a week or stuff like that. Or like the actual core group that's there isn't very big. It's
right.
And the other thing that's kind of, I guess that gets troubling is that then every time somebody leaves, it's, well, they weren't ready yet. Well, they didn't do everything they were supposed to. It was their choice, like a lot of shit that kind of just goes against the addiction philosophy to begin with. Like, so, I mean, I think as a professional, as a social worker and stuff like that, like when I've worked in that field, I found that like, there was always a cop out like that. Like we were always kind of saying
making some excuse.
It was them. But maybe it's our treatment. Maybe it's their approaches. Maybe it's, maybe there's a lot of other things.
Well, there have been studies that show that the 12-step program doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's the whole side of it is why do I have to find apology or any of that stuff?
Sure.
It has nothing to do with a physiological addiction.
And this is the thing. It's like some of the principles. Okay, great. You help people. You're transparent. Blah blah blah. But yeah, you're right. Connecting it to addiction is a totally different story, right? So, I think the biggest problem is that spontaneous recovery, sometimes they say, can account for most of the success in AA. And there's lots of people who spontaneously get sober from drugs and alcohol outside of AA in the same kind of fashion. Is it because they took the steps? Is it because they turned their life over, blah, 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 that
or just stopped?
Or they just stopped, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have a hard time deciding how much choice is involved in getting over addiction. We really do. It's a really hard thing to study.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for them to say that it's choice that leads them out of the group is bullshit to me. So,
even something like a stressor can make you quit.
Well, yeah.
A situation. But another thing with things like AA is Al-Anon. It's such a fucking cult.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That, like, I know I have extended family and friends that are in Al-Anon because they're significant others in AA.
Yep.
And it's such a nitpicking cult. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And you can't leave. You're not the addict. And you can't leave. Ever.
Yeah. Well, they have that built into it too. I mean, I could go on a rant forever about this subject because I know a lot about it.
Right.
But no, they have that built into the groups. The idea that if you leave and you don't come back, oh, shit's going to get bad. Like keep coming back.
Right.
If you can't leave us because
your life's going to fall apart.
This is a problem for life. It's not something that's a problem now.
Right.
Makes you wonder if it's not a for-profit organization.
Well,
they act like they are, don't they?
Well, sometimes
it becomes a problem for life if it's continued by forcing you to go to the meeting.
Constantly reliving old trauma too. Like I don't know.
It can't be healthy.
No. Like again, I don't want to knock that there are elements of it that are helpful to some people, and there's been a lot of people who in those groups who've done a lot of good for others. Like
how long has AA been around?
I think since I don't even know, the 50s.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Wow. Sciences have progressed a lot since the 50s. You would think that things like dealing with addiction and stuff like that would also progress.
Well, the only problem is I think there's so many elements to it. Like, I mean, you can be genetically your genetic makeup makes you, predisposed. There we go. That's the word I was thinking of. Couldn't say, but there's a lot of cultural elements. There's a lot of stressors, psychological. There's a lot of elements to it. I mean,
we're always redefining it.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that there's no addition. Yeah. I'm arguing that the treatment system hasn't changed.
I get years.
It has, but in different areas.
Yeah,
like here, I think Regina is a little farther ahead than like when I worked in Weyburn. So there actually is some progress. Like there's actually some a group called Smart Recovery that has some interesting successes, but they base most of their stuff on scientific things, right? Like, it's not a group that you come to for steps. Like, there's actually techniques and shit that have some evidence behind them, right? So
Interesting.
yeah, so I wouldn't say we haven't evolved at all in that stuff. If you examine the early days of AA, it was way different. Like, it was really hardcore bullshit. But,
prayer.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, and in much like religions, the big book itself, the text that Bill W. wrote hasn't changed, regardless if it's misogynist or racist or anything. Like, they won't change the language of the text because it's in its original form and how it was intended to be.
Misogynist.
Yes.
Good word.
Yes. But
I'm going to try to keep that one.
You know, and funny thing about that is the last thing I'll mention maybe for now, because I could probably do a whole show about this. But
maybe we should sometime.
But Bill W. himself, I know there's a lot
How about now?
There's a lot of eyewitness testimony that Bill W. was actually quite the womanizer, right?
Okay.
And if you ever heard the term 13th step, we talked about this.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Like, a lot of that originated from him, apparently, because he was constantly, like, you know, picking up girls at these groups and stuff like that. So.
But isn't that also a common thing? Like, if you have an addictive personality, you will swap one addiction for another. You know, like
yeah. I think it's like there's some impulse problems too.
Yeah,
It's not just that.
Well, I mean, all for some reason, George W. Bush comes screaming to mind. He, you know, supposedly he was a massive cokehead, and then he replaced it with religion. You know, so
yeah, I doubt that.
Yeah. He's probably still high, right?
Yeah. To see that guy when he was president, come on.
he probably found Clinton's stash in the back of Air Force One.
Clinton was just a weed smoker, though.
No, he was a sex addict.
That's another show.
Yeah.
Fuck Harper.
Fuck Harper.
Fuck Harper.
Like, seriously.
Harper's becoming basically our Nixon.
Stephen Harper has been the subject of not just us, like multiple scientific podcasts have discussed how anti-science our prime minister is.
Yeah.
Because it's fucking ridiculous.
It is. He has a really, really detailed, long-standing anti-science stance.
Yeah. And it's fucking
well
embarrassing.
documented. It is embarrassing.
And in several areas too, not just like one or two. Like
that's right.
Like
just science.
Yeah, he just hates science.
Knowledge? What's that? Yeah. We don't want it.
Goes against his corporate ideology.
Well, it really does. That's it. He's in it for the money, I guess.
I just brought this up because we need that every episode.
Yes, fuck Harper. At least until he's no longer prime minister.
Yeah. I actually started.
We'll probably go for a bit after.
I actually started a Facebook page called Fuck Harper.
Did you?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did.
Excellent.
Do you actually post to that one?
No, I just started it yesterday.
Okay, because you've started a couple.
We could start a spin-off podcast just called Fuck Harper. That could be
yeah.
Just make it a little less professional.
Well, why don't we take a save break?
The break song for this episode is actually by our sound guy and panel member, Dave. His band, Linger, has been a project he's been working on for a long time. I encourage you to check them out at linger.bandcamp.com. The song is Gray and White from the album Creatures of Yesterday.
Seek a path when let it fall.
This morning, I read an article that apparently was from Wednesday, October 1st. Scientists have created the most effective invisibility cloak so far, and you can make one for $100. But it's basically it's a lenses in a row that refract the light differently
around you.
Yeah, around you, but you can't actually go. Every time something crosses the center of it, it actually did show, like you could see it. It had to be on the edges of the lens. Mm-hmm. So
it's like they're trying to turn people into black holes. Light bends around black holes, but if it hits the black hole directly, it doesn't escape, so you can't see the black hole. The black hole itself isn't detectable, except by its influence on other things. They're trying to turn people into black holes. That's my analogy for this invisibility.
Right. I'm thinking someone watched Harry Potter one too many times.
Who?
Whoever did this. They want their own invisibility cloak.
Oh, good. I thought you were talking about me.
No.
It's using one concave and one convex lens, I think is how it's working.
I have no idea how it works.
Yeah. So you have a lens and it's concave, so when the light hits it, it's the light behind it, only some of it gets focused onto the next lens. And it's that area, that gray area that doesn't appear. So you can stand there and not be seen.
So are you talking out of your ass? Or
no, actually, I've watched an entire documentary on it.
Oh,
that's interesting.
I watched a documentary called Zeitgeist once.
Turns out it's wrong.
No, this was cool because there was an adult standing there, and he's just talking. And then suddenly, just to the side of him, a little kid just appears out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because the little kid is short enough that he's not noticeable. But the dad's standing in the center. He's standing behind the other lens. So you can see all of him. It's pretty cool.
I think that's called just having little kids. If you're watching something little kids shouldn't see, they just appear out of nowhere.
So what are the practical purposes of an invisibility cloak besides being creepy?
From what I could tell, this has no practical application at this point.
Except military application.
Right.
Military, sure.
Right, but this in particular can't be applied to that yet, right? Like this is just lenses in a row, and you have to be on the outskirts of the lenses. And other than that, they don't talk about the use.
There's a more advanced version, or is
Maybe
there not, that's being developed? I remember reading an article about that.
The actual cloak that's nanotubes, mirrored nanotubes.
Yeah,
that are actually bending the seeable light right around you.
Like that's an actual military thing that's being created, right? Like it's not
the extension of what's it called, the ghillie suit or whatever the snipers use.
Oh yeah, it's like that.
Okay. Interesting. I have not heard of this nanotube cloak thing. So
yeah, you should look it up. I think it was a Canadian dude doing it or something, or I can't remember. Be interesting. Get your Google machine and check it out because this was an article I read like last year, I think, about an invisibility cloak. But now it'll reach the consumer level too. So there we go.
But like I say, I don't see this being particularly.
One of those
useful,
cool things, but
yeah,
not
it's
really
neat.
practical.
But at this point, I don't see it being terribly useful. The way this one works, anyway.
Sure.
Because if you're in the center of field of vision, then you're visible. Mm-hmm. So you have to be on the edges of the lenses to make it work. I don't know.
Some guy sneaking up, Jimmy, left of center. They can see you now. Yeah. Move to the left.
I just picture like Metal Gear. If everyone plays Metal Gear, you put a box over yourself, then you become invisible.
Yeah.
Everyone needs a cloak.
This is the thing about all advancement, though. You're like, well, I don't see how this could be practical, but no scientist ever does. I mean, all they're doing is discovering new things how they can mess with light.
Which is very cool.
Yeah, and then eventually they're like, oh my God, look at what we can do with this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what, I mean, you find out things just for finding out things.
That's true.
It's its own benefit.
I guess you could say I'm skeptical of the idea of turning people invisible.
Well, sure.
It's just, this is one of those things where I'm kind of going like what use is there besides military? Like, is there really anything, or creepiness? Like, is there a single reason you need to do that? I guess fun, but
fun can be creepy too.
Well, that's just it, right? So it's just like, I don't know. I just picture that fucking, child molester sitting with an invisibility cloak, outside of school waiting for a kid. Like with, I don't know. Like, that's how skeptical I am, I guess. But
So the cloaking thing is actually a company called Hyper Stealth. They're a Canadian company.
Canadian, I knew it.
Once thought to be only science fiction fantasy technology, Guy Kramer, president and CEO of Hyper Stealth Biotech Corp. That just sounds like an evil company.
Yep.
Arbitrarily. Discusses the implication
CEO
of
sounds like Arnold
militaries,
Schwarzenegger.
which can now become invisible with his light-bending technology called quantum stealth.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Color me skeptical when somebody uses the word quantum.
Quantum.
You know how you know Deepak Chopra is right about things, right?
Quantum stealth is a material that renders the target completely invisible by bending light waves, and they use light waves, around the target. The material removes not only your visual, infrared, and thermal signatures, but also the target's shadow. Military groups in the U.S. and Canada, as well as federal emergency response teams, counter-terrorist teams, have seen the actual material so they could verify they wasn't just manipulating the video. It's actually images of the video.
Yeah,
was this video?
It was a real thing. Yeah, like it was. I fact-checked it a bit. When I read
there's the cloak with somebody laying under it.
When did they test that one on Mythbusters?
I don't know. This article's from October 19th, 2012 in Vancouver.
Although, you know what, seeing that picture, I think I have seen that article before.
There's the other picture.
Okay, yeah. I think I have seen that one.
I can't see shit.
If you're listening to a podcast, you probably can't see it either.
Yeah, that's right.
If you look really close to your speaker.
Roy will say, see image 1. And have,
Yeah.
That's right.
No.
Or we'll just cut this out. Or, sorry, Corey will cut this out.
We.
Yeah, we. Yeah. Like the rest of us do anything.
Or is that the royal we?
It's the royal we.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We were talking about AA, and it's how it hasn't changed much since the 1950s. I was reading today about polygraphs, and that's a technology that hasn't changed since the early 1900s.
And it's always been garbage.
Yes, and it's always been garbage.
And it's not admissible in court, if I remember right.
No, it's approximately...
Because they finally figured out that it's garbage.
Yeah, polygraphs are bullshit.
Yep.
Can you say that again but sound more like pendulum?
Yeah. No, I can't, actually.
Polygraphs?
Nope.
Yeah, I can't do it either.
Yeah, no.
Bullshit.
But they are bullshit.
I could probably do it sounding more like Teller.
The technology hasn't changed since the early 1900s, which it was garbage then. And, it's only 60% effective, though apparently the practitioners like to claim 95% effectiveness.
60% is the exact same as 0.
Well, it's close to 0, right?
Yeah.
50% is the exact same as 0.
Yeah.
Well, no, 60% is still reasonable doubt, so it's 0.
It's still close to 0, within a margin of error.
If it was 80%,
yeah,
it still wouldn't be admissible.
Statistically, 95% is your standard.
Yeah, that's
why that's what people claim.
Which is what they claim, but studies that have actually examined it have found no better than 60%. And there's actually programs online that claim they can tell if you're lying through just your vocal resonance, and those have been found to be 50% or less.
That's like the apps you get on your phone.
Which is 0.
Less than 50% is actually interesting, because 50% is 0, right?
Right.
I mean, it's the same as a coin flip. You're guessing, is he lying, is he not lying?
So if you can get it down to 0, it's the same as 100.
That's right, but in the opposite direction. So it's like you're doing something exactly wrong, which would be interesting in and of itself.
Yeah. So you're saying the voice stress analyzer from Knight Rider was bullshit?
The voice stress analyzer was bullshit.
The rest of the show is totally legit. But
yeah.
My childhood is now crushed.
Yeah.
I don't even know why they use them in law enforcement either. Like, I'm not sure what they plan or what they seek to get from that.
Well,
like,
here's some interesting things.
It's like coercion.
It is coercion, right?
In the U.S., it is illegal for private companies to use polygraph tests in hiring practices.
Good.
In Canada, and in the U.S., government positions are still able to use it for hiring practices.
The RCMP does it.
The RCMP does it. As
we
regular,
are that behind the times.
We're that behind the times.
Fuck you, Harper.
Crazy. Fuck you, Harper. I don't think we can blame him
your fault
for quite everything. But
yeah.
Well, we can.
That's
Doesn't mean we're right, but
that's true. We can. We are able.
It's not submissible in criminal court, but in some cases of civil court, it is submissible.
That's terrible.
Yeah. So
sometimes it's legally admissible and sometimes it's not.
Yes.
So it should just not be legally admissible.
Yes, that's right.
Or you just flip the coin, just kind of like how the polygraph works.
May as well. What the polygraph does, why don't you just say, okay, he was nervous while doing the interview.
That's right.
That's what the polygraph told us.
Yeah.
Why don't they just get down and say, the polygraph tells us about these factors in a person's physiology. So why don't they just be accurate about it?
Well, yeah.
Probably because what it
That's
is
right.
is they hook you up to the polygraph to make you all sweaty and nervous because they can't hook you up to the car battery like they want to.
Well, and even, but the thing is, I don't even think that should be used because it's like being nervous in an interview like that. Who wouldn't be nervous? Like how many people wouldn't be? So I don't think there's really any reason to bring it up. Like it's like
if you know you're being tested, results are always going to be skewed. Period,
exactly
for any in any situation.
It should all be about the evidence that's presented to the court, and and that evidence should be
But that is exactly my point. Yeah. I mean, if we were honest about what the polygraph does and say, it tells us he's nervous, then we would stop using it because that's irrelevant.
That doesn't tell us anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But nervousness proves guilt.
Wait a sec.
Skin color plus gender equals...
As long as I'm going up right after lunch, I'm fine.
Yeah, that's right. I'll take the damn polygraph right after lunch. There's a guy in the States who's teaching countermeasures to as many people as he can, which is basically just calm yourself and breathe.
I thought you meant like the opposite of measuring. What is that?
At, $100 a person
I know
per seminar,
probably.
No, I think he does it for free
The
because
editor
he's trying
just
to
shot
debunk
himself.
the whole polygraph thing.
This is how you measure a counter.
Jesus, jeez. Stop it.
Eventually, I'm going to be not invited anymore. That I can relax.
Every time I think of polygraph, too, I think of like the old printer paper with the holes in it and stuff that feeds through.
Yeah, that's right.
They probably all still have that just to keep the
A
authenticity.
lot of them do, yeah.
All I can think of is actually
Authenticity.
Simpsons, where they hook Mo up to it.
Oh, yeah.
What were you going to do? I had a hot date.
Yeah.
Sitting at home alone. Oogling the Sports Illustrated. Sears catalog. Ding.
Well, after learning that polygraph machines are
Countermeasures.
bullshit.
Countermeasures?
Yeah.
Well,
Do the States.
Yeah, he's just teaching people to stay calm, breathe deeply, and you can actually, just in the video I watched, which was on skeptic.com.
Maybe?
I think it's a .com.
You might have to edit that out.
It is a .com. Skeptic.com/polygraph. Anyway, he...
That'll be in the after.
Yeah,
you're
that's
useless.
Right. You're useless. It's he said, when you're asked a question, control your breathing. And then on the next question, which would be a control question, you increase your breathing.
Yep.
And that's gonna give a heightened response on the polygraph.
Yep.
Yep.
And then, so that's going to show your previous response as honest. Mm-hmm. Because apparently these things are fucking ridiculously dumb.
They ask you, they have to ask you a bunch of control questions to start with.
That's right.
So they ask you like what your name is.
What's your
So
name?
you're like, oh my God, I have to give my name. Oh my God. Like, right?
Right.
And that fucks with the polygraph. And then when you're actually doing other stuff, if you're nervous, it shows up as normal.
Right. Yeah.
It's obvious that this is garbage.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, it doesn't even take like a study necessarily to show this.
Mm-mm.
Wasn't there like a whole TV show about this a while back where like they had like two people on and they would ask like a really bad question, like, "Are you cheating on me?" And then like not Maury Povich or anything like that, like an actual prime time.
It was almost like a game show.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
Yeah. So even that, like
Really? I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was.
I don't think it lasted very long.
No.
A white cosplayer has been accused of racism for using blackface.
Oh, that one, yeah.
It's interesting. Like I'm never sure what to think of these things.
It's
I don't
not
know,
racism.
I don't think so. Only because they're trying to create the character. Like it's kind of like those.
The character that he was trying to masquerade as is the woman out of Walking Dead. The one with the katana?
Michonne or something.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and she really does well. She does well with the hair. Except for being better looking, she's a spitting image of her. That's great. I mean, what else are you going to do? If she dressed up as a Smurf and painted her skin blue, no one would care.
No. But I guess it creates that weird argument because I know there's some debate with the new Fantastic Four movie that they're coming up. Supposedly they're making the Human Torch black. Which whatever. Who really cares? But it's kind of the same thing. Like if you're cosplaying that certain character and that character is black,
Yeah.
You might want to be black.
Yeah.
You want to be accurate. I mean, if the Human Torch isn't generally black, why would you cast a black character?
It's the same as with the Avengers movie, how they didn't cast anybody to be
Spider-Man.
No.
No, that's correct.
Well, we can name a
Spider-Man
lot
isn't part of the Avengers.
Yes. Miss Marvel?
No. The Wasp.
Wasp, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And she was one of the actual she founded.
She was one of the founding members.
But
they
haven't
cast her aside.
That's a different argument. But basically, the part of the problem is they didn't have a origin movie for her, and it'd be hard to just throw her. Mind you, they didn't really have her Hawkeye either,
or
I guess.
Black Widow.
Yeah.
Black Widow showed up in Iron Man 2, though.
That's not an origin.
Yeah, but they're both humans.
No,
yeah, it's not an origin story, so.
I don't know.
Whatever.
This is a tricky one.
Yeah, it's one of those
I
things.
find it to be up in the air. Like, I understand that there's a sensitivity there that with the blackface that seems to be required.
But I don't think it's quite the same thing.
But
'cause, like,
at the same time, you have to be true to the character. You got to have the same color of skin.
Well, if you go
it's
blackface, you
blackface-
have to be. But if you want to be, I don't see the problem.
problem is it's
I
not
don't
quite
know.
the same thing because original blackface in the 20s was like it was an over exaggeration. It was a character's mammy.
It was a,
Man.
caric-
I mean,
it was a caricature.
Caricature.
Caricature. Yeah.
Yeah.
If somebody dresses up now, blackens their face, wears 1940s rags, and carries around a shoeshine kit,
That's
that's
racist.
different.
Yeah. Well, once again, it's a caricature.
That's racist.
Whereas this is cosplay for that black character. I don't know. It is kind of a sensitive topic.
I think it almost comes down to where the motivation comes from.
Or
like, this
even-
girl said that it came from a place of admiration. Like, and I mean, I have to take her at her word.
It depends what she does with it,
But
to determine if it's racist or
You
not.
know, we should be.
You get judged on your actions.
Yeah.
Well, sure, but I mean, the character out of Walking Dead is an admirable character.
Well, first, no.
Yeah.
If this chick does
So-
blackface, dresses like her, and walks around going, "Oh, I'm a big nigger," right? That's racist.
That's racist.
if she's just if she's just
There's a beep in there.
cosplaying, it's not racist. It's pretty black and white. It's simple.
But I mean,
Yeah,
it
I
is
think
kind of a minefield because I know what's her name? Taylor Swift got herself in trouble when she did her last video because she was twerking in it and did all this other stuff, and they were saying, she can't do that because, she's white, so
Lots of white people twerk.
badly. But
too
yes.
many white people
many
twerk.
people.
Lots of
in
white
general,
people twerk.
Twerking
just
should
as
not
well
even
as
be a
black
thing.
people.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it is.
Who
kind
cares?
Of
It's a dance thing.
Yeah, it's a dance thing.
It's a terrible.
Anyone can do it.
One thing that we should be happy about, I guess, in one respect, is that there's a strong female black lead character in a series.
There you go.
Yeah. Give props or prop is due.
And Michonne's a great character. I don't know how many of you guys are Walking Dead fans, but I think Michonne's awesome. Like,
I still haven't watched season 3. So.
She'll kick the shit out of you. Like,
yes.
Yeah. And not afraid to make decisions. Just like, like it's a good character, like.
Right. No, that's good.
Isn't your stereotypical black one dies first?
That's why it's so easy to believe her when she said, well, I'm emulating this character because I look up to her.
Exactly.
She's an admirable character. Well, yeah, that's easy to believe.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is a different thing than you're right, than the caricature, I think.
Yeah. Somebody got in trouble last year at Halloween for doing it was a white person, I can't remember who, some supposedly famous person, was doing a character off of Orange is the New Black. And so she was wearing blackface and got into a lot of shit for that.
Let me guess, she was Crazy Eyes.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh. Of course she was.
Yeah.
How can you not like Crazy Eyes?
So I don't know, is that similar? Is that the same thing, or is that a different because it's a different character and less admirable?
I think the problem is if you think of it rationally, it's not an issue, but especially down in the States, it's still a loaded situation.
What was she doing as the character? It all comes down to your actions.
But a lot of people
say all the time.
No, and I think the problem is a lot of people don't see it that way.
Yeah.
If
I'm walking around in a Hitler mustache and a Nazi uniform, I don't care what my actions are. I'm walking around in a Hitler mustache and Nazi uniform.
What if you're part of a stage show?
There are times when I think the uniform itself matters, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Unless you're trying to dress up as Prince Harry.
Should people be allowed to prevent you legally from doing that just because they're offended by it?
Yeah, that's a tricky question.
I don't think everyone's saying this is illegal. They just
no, they're not saying it's illegal. No. They're saying it ought to be.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. To me, it is a loaded thing because it's that whole appropriation of culture, and it's because it's a loaded thing. I mean, it when a white person puts on a black, does that, everyone screams blackface when it really isn't. It is, but it isn't. It is a loaded.
They're
thing.
not doing it because the person's black. They're doing it because that's the character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to masquerade as Crazy Eyes, you could have a whole bunch of people coming out and saying, "Look, you're anti-lesbian. Oh my God, the lesbian community is up in arms now because you're doing something that's sexist or homosexuality is whatever."
Cosplay is its own little weird universe.
Her name's Juliana Alexander Hugh.
I'm not so sure we should actually give too much weight to people just because they're offended by something.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is I can kind of see where it comes from, but on the other hand, it is kind of welcome to the 21st century.
I think
you should be able to move past it.
When you talk about laws, it's different than talking about what's ethical, right?
Yeah.
Like so. Sometimes.
Sure.
Sometimes.
In the one case, you're talking about facts. In the other case, you're talking about something important, right? In one case, you're talking about, that happens to be illegal, incidentally. On the other hand, is it something a good person can do and still remain a good person? Exactly. I think the latter question is far more important.
If the most powerful piece of artillery you have at your disposal is somebody dressed up as somebody else, you don't have an argument. Mm-hmm. Period. There's way, way more valid things you could be fighting or using as your stand than somebody dressing up as somebody else.
Like actual oppression.
Right.
But there are times when it has been actual oppression, though. This is the thing, right? I'm not saying this case is, but I mean, when you had media was nonstop, think of the ping pong comedian guy with the big teeth and the
right.
Well, and I think that's what that's
harmful.
This is still a carryover of that. I think that's where the knee jerk reaction is.
Exactly.
It's a carryover from that. That's not what this is, but it is that.
Right.
Still
her intent wasn't the same as that caricature, right? But does this go past the sensitivity that we feel we should have for?
I don't know. I think some people are. I jokingly call it the professional victims unit, where if anything happens like that, they're instantly, oh my God, I have to be offended for this reason.
Where do you draw the line?
That
Like,
I
where,
have no
there has to be a
freaking
line.
clue.
It can't get to the point where, oh, you know, my favorite character on Orange is the New Black is Crazy Eyes. Oh, you're a fucking racist. You know, where is that line?
Well, that's just it. That race card gets thrown. You know, that's a pretty big deck nowadays. But you know, like that's just it. Is like there's anything anyone does, there's always someone's going to be offended. And I don't know. I think there's a point where it's like pick your battles.
I think the world is way too small for racism to even be a thing. It's just stupid that it is.
I really think that should be the conclusion of our entire talk is pick your battles.
Yeah.
I think you're picking your battles wrong here.
Yeah.
Pick your battles better.
In this particular instance.
Yeah, in this particular instance.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is kind of more of a joke along those lines, but I was thinking, I was watching this Red Letter Media review, and they're talking about, including Samuel L. Jackson in episode 2, Attack of the Clones, to get the black market. And, you think about it, there aren't a lot of, like, black, nerdy characters that, it's like, I feel sorry for black dudes. It's like, either you're going to be Samuel L. Jackson or you're going to be,
Lando
Calrissian. like there just isn't enough characters that have been prominent. Spawn maybe, but Spawn was burned the whole time anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and he's kind of an exception. Yeah,
yeah. There's not that many. I don't know.
I mean, even Samuel.
Yeah, Bishop's great.
Yeah, Bishop's fucking awesome.
But like even Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, that was a reinvention. Nick Fury was really white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the first generation of the comics. Later on, he was actually black.
Yeah.
Which they modeled after Sam Jackson.
Yeah, that's the Ultimates, I think.
That's
they
the
do that?
Ultimate one, yeah.
Oh, well, it's okay because nothing that has anything to do with the Marvel Universe has actually followed with Marvel Universe on movies, so it doesn't matter.
On the screen, you mean?
On the screen, yeah.
I wouldn't say nothing, but...
No, but the next
pretty much
closest
nothing. Like, not even 95%. More like 60.
Yeah.
They got some of the names.
Well, they've used some of the characters, like the Winter Soldier was actually a thing. It was part of the Captain America series back a few years ago.
I'm still bitching about X-Men.
Oh,
all the X-Men
man.
movies.
Oh, well,
Days of Future Past is amazing.
Yeah, Days of Future Past is amazing.
They're all crap.
Yeah.
Amazing.
They basically erase all the other bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. That movie was so good. Did you even see it? Oh, no.
Yeah, it's a wicked
No, that
movie.
was one of my favorite comic book movies of all time, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I was impressed.
Yeah. So that's it for this part. Thanks for listening. All the relevant links will be posted in the show notes at brainstormblog.net. If you want to keep up to date with the show, come on over and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/brainstormpodcast or follow us on Twitter at brainstormpod. If you want to support the show, head on over to patreon.com/brainstormpodcast and give $1 an episode. Or if that's too much, then go and give us a rating and write a review on iTunes or Stitcher. The first person to do it gets a free t-shirt or hat with the Brainstorm logo on it. This recording session developed into quite the discussion regarding criticism of Islam, and I'm going to put that out as a separate episode in a few days, once I'm done working on it. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and listen to the next one. Also, we have a new partner with the show, reasonistproducts.com. T-shirts with science, reason, and atheist themes. They've got good prices and offer a buy one get one free with the coupon code BRAINSTORM. As a bonus, Reasonist is offering a free t-shirt to the first person who tweets the word brainstorm to them. So get on that, get a free t-shirt. Their Twitter is @ReasonistProducts, Reasonist PRDCTS. This episode's podcast shoutout is for the Irreverent Skeptics. They're a group of non-experts, kind of like us, but they do more research. They also do their show on Google Hangouts, so I think you can watch them live. It's really funny and informative. I'll throw a link in the show notes. By extension, one of the members of the Irreverent Skeptics podcast is Mike Bowler, who also runs The Skeptic's Guide to Conspiracy, which is also a really well-researched show that goes into the different conspiracy theories very in depth. It's a very good
show, and I highly recommend it. Again, the links will be in the show notes.
This is an opinion-based podcast. Each person on the podcast is responsible for their own opinions, and those opinions don't necessarily reflect the views of the rest of the panel, any guests, or anyone associated with people on the podcast, such as wives, girlfriends, children, other family members, friends, or employers. The Brainstorm podcast does not represent the views of our sponsors.
Jeez, apparently I'm the asshole of the podcast today.
Let's pretend we know things.
That's what she normally looks like.
Let's pretend we know things.
Let's pretend we know things.
You sound like you're experienced in what we normally do.
Isn't that the common theme of this podcast?
You've been here
Yes.
before.
Yes.
You've been here before.
You've paid attention before.
You should no longer introduce us by our names, but whether more by like our attitudes.
Yeah.
Attitude.
Tonight on the show, we have the smart ass know-it-all.
That doesn't narrow it down.
Yes, unfortunately it doesn't.
Wait, no. What did you call yourself? The most
Conceited
man in the world.
Yeah. That's what I sound like when I listen to these.
The most conceited man in the world.
But
I sound like a drunk fat guy.
Okay, so you're the drunk fat guy. I'm the most conceited man in the world. America's Got Talent. I always wonder, where did they get it?
Yeah.
Do they still have it?
Did they steal it?
and after how many seasons, I still question.
Yeah, I know. Well, because it's not that they got it; it's that they have. Well, they has got it, right?
It's just like they has cheeseburger.
Sure, America has cheeseburger.
America got cheeseburger.
America has got cheeseburger.
Yeah, awesome.
Like I said at supper, Corey, just do your job, bitch. That's Corey's title. Tonight we have
podcast bitch.
The editing bitch.
Editing
No,
bitch.
the just do your job, bitch. That's going to be his name.
Job, bitch.
The fat guy who drinks beer, the most conceited man in the world.
What are
you?
you?
We still need two.
I used to consider Rene music geek.
Just call me
Back
Token
in the
Brown
day.
Guy.
Token
We need a brown atheist.